Za uwe fruik ni maya nifta banting nikunting nari Tumpaya katos akea katos ekon talana weruta yasi Za uwe fruik ni maya nifta banting nikunting nari Tumpaya katos akea katos ekon talana weruta yasi Za uwe fruik ni maya nifta banting nikunting nari Tumpaya katos akea katos ekon talana
fancy intro music, yeah! Woohoo!
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be talking about the Cerritos from Lower Decks that has been added to the game, and it is a full-fledged mechanic. So we've got events to go over, we've got the mechanics of the ship to go over, and honestly quite a bit of detail, so this video might run a little bit longer than we normally do for a ship. But because this is so game-changing, and it really is, because for a long time this game has basically just been nothing but attack. It's been a bunch of DPS. So MMO players will be familiar with the form of like a bard in a MMO style game. It's exactly what you're getting with the Cerritos, that support style structure. So we won't cover the details of things like cost as much as we normally would, but for reference, here is from STFC.space the total upgrade cost. Keep in mind, it is a 4-star 12-tier ship. So this is total cost for everything. When compared to other 4-star or 3-star ships, the cost upgrade is not that high. It also should be pointed out when it comes to combat, this does have some combat ability. The weapons are comparable to like a Burrell, a 32 rare in the 3-star world. So it's not the strongest, but it will have some combat ability to stand on its own, but it's not going to go toe to toe with like a Pilum or a Coronar with other 4-star ships, even though it's a 4-star epic. But that is okay. It's actually not a problem in this particular instance, and we'll explain why as we go through it. One of the things that I want to do first, though, is show off the basic mechanics of how it works and how to use your Cerritos once you get them. And yes, there's a free-to-play path that we'll cover in just a second. So if I'm going to take it out of dock, let me just take out my Enterprise and my Cerritos, and there's going to be 2 different ways you can activate the Cerritos abilities depending on what you're trying to buff, yourself or a player ship. Now, it needs to be noted that any player ship can be buffed, any of them. Enemies, friendlies, alliance, doesn't matter. You can buff any player ship. So like Buck here was kind enough to send out their Enterprise. What you'll see is right here is a little yellow icon. You click that, and that's going to allow you to buff. Now, it's going to tell you how long you can support the ship. In my case, a tier 1 Cerritos, I can do 3 minutes. Every level up I can do, it's like level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 60, will increase the amount of support time that I have. And the tier of my Cerritos will change the amount of cost that I have. So as I tier up the Cerritos, it actually gets cheaper to pay the fee to use the material. So I need less of the currency. So let's say I wanted to support Buck. I'm going to click that right there. And then you'll see he's got this little icon next to his name that shows that he's supported. And because he's my ally, he's in my alliance, it actually gives me a timer showing off his support time. Now, if I wanted to do my ship, it's a little bit different. So right here, there's going to be a little panel. Now, I do have a cooldown, 2 minutes, you see. I actually don't like the cooldown of the Cerritos. I want that to go. I'm going to fight for that to go. But either way, if I want to do my launch, you see it right here. I have an icon, and it works similar to the discovery mechanic in terms of appearance. So you'll hit that button, and then you'll get asked if you want to buff any of the ships in your system. So the Cerritos has to be in the system for the buff to work, and then you can simply move or whatever. Now, I do want to note, the Cerritos has to be in the system to buff a ship, but after it's buffed, like if I move my Cerritos right now, I'm going to take it to Hollis, you'll notice that Buck still maintains his bonus. So it is right here. Oh, I saw somebody flying into the system. See, Buck, even though I've left the system with the Cerritos, you still have the bonus here on Buck's Enterprise. Now, Buck, what the... He just threw a ship out here, y'all. This man does not typically keep Spock on the Enterprise. He just asked somebody to throw a ship out real quick for me. So he did a hot swap. He didn't want to throw out one of his 4-stars in case somebody got popped because it was floating around. So y'all don't go after Buck. But that would be what it looks like. If you leave the system, the buff is still active. Now, if that ship were to dock, so Buck was to either dock his ship or it was destroyed, then it would lose the buff from the Cerritos. Now, let's talk about how the buffing actually works and what actually applies there. I'm going to recall my ships in case they go boom, and I'll tell Buck what he needs. So let's go to our research tree, and this is where we're going to see the research for the Cerritos. And like I said, I really do like the way this is set up personally, because it's going to allow players that are lower level, in this case 36 plus, to help those who might normally they could never assist in a battle. So the way the research works, and here's the research tree, is whoever you buff or whomever you buff, the amount of buff they're getting is based on their research, not yours. So if I had, say, shield overcharge researched at level 5, it doesn't matter, because the shield health bonus is going to be based on the person I'm buffing. So it will be based on, in this case, Buck's research. So whatever he has researched, that's the amount of buff that he is getting. Now, to go ahead and answer a question I've already been asked a lot, does it stack? No. So if you had 3 Cerritos buffing one player, all that's going to do is change the timer on that player. It basically works like an on-off toggle switch, like a light switch. So if I buff a ship, all these researches on. If I don't buff a ship, they're off. So it's going to be based on whatever the player has researched. But I actually like that, because that means I can actually assist. Like if there's a level 50 in combat, in territory, I can go buff them. And because they've probably gone as far as their research can take them, higher than mine can, I'm actually able to sufficiently boost them as a low level player. And in return, they can boost me, but the boost that I'm getting is going to be based on my level and my research. And I'm really curious to see what everybody else thinks about how that mechanic works. So while you can't stack massive bonuses, like for example, the amplified weaponry, which maxed out is 150% bonus to damage by any ship being supported by a Cerritos. So if you're getting supported, you're getting that bonus if that's what you've maxed out. It doesn't stack. So you can't have like 10 of them and then a 1,000% damage bonus. That's still a pretty nice damage bonus in conjunction with the other ones. For example, like the holographic imagery, which reduces damage taking from player ships. So if you had both of these and you had turned on your supported and these are active, you're creating more damage and taking less damage based on your research. So it is a true support vessel using the research of other players to determine the level of support they are getting. Now, the drawback to this is going to be, and I know a lot of people have already pointed out, lower level players getting buffed are getting nothing. And one thing that we will ask the devs is maybe if there's some type of base boost that you can give to lower level players to maybe help them out that won't have access to this research tree, because you will need the Cerritos to go through and get the materials needed for upgrading. Let's start talking about some of the events real quick, because today, as of making this video, is the first day that we're seeing the first set of events for the Cerritos, and that is Second Contact. Now, there are going to be 3 events that the Cerritos can give you each Wednesday. And depending on what level you are and what tier your Cerritos is going to be what level you can actually get or what events you see. And you kind of see that referenced right here. It says reach tier 5 with your Cerritos to unlock the Second Contact Elite. So Second Contact is going to be part of a forever run. So we had Swarm Sunday, Mining Monday, and whatever you want to call this Wednesday. I have no witty name. Witty Wednesday, because that's all I can come up with at the moment. This is going to be a permanent sourcing option for not only the Cerritos itself, which will have an event that for level 35 plus players starting in May, you will be able to earn the Cerritos every week. Now you can get up to 100 blueprints from this event. It's going to be called the California event and California class event. And any player can get a full Cerritos from that. And if you've already bought a Cerritos, then you can get a second Cerritos from that. So in July, after I free to play ground at my California event, I'll have 2 Cerritos. So what we have here is the Second Contact, which is what you'll see as a base event if you have a Cerritos. Level 36, level 46. If you have a tier 1 Cerritos like I do, this is the event you see, which allows you to start sourcing your refinery tokens, which is going to give you the materials needed to upgrade the ship, the materials needed to do your research, and then officer shards to start working on those lower deck officers, which is something that I've already started pulling. Now, if you are tier 5 with your Cerritos and level 40 plus, you'll get access to an SMS called the Second Elite SMS, plus a solo leaderboard event that will run every Wednesday. And if you are a high level player and a spender, a tier 12 Cerritos has another event called Second Contact Elite tier 12, specifically for those tier 12 Cerritos. So there's 3 total Second Contact events. Depending on your level and your Cerritos' tier, you'll see different ones. So a level 36 player will always see the regular Second Contact. But a tier 5 Cerritos on like a level 44 player will see the second contact elite. A high level player, the level 60s out there with a maxed out Cerritos already, will see the second contact elite tier 12. So there's all the different events you can have. And then, as I said, the California class will come by every Wednesday and let you get a full Cerritos. And that one will run for a full run. So if you have a Cerritos already, well, you can get a full 100 blueprints worth in the event every Wednesday, starting in May, through the California class, even if you've already got a Cerritos. And if you don't have a Cerritos, you're getting a free Cerritos no matter what by completing a new series of events on Wednesdays. And then, of course, last but not least, should mention the Refinery. I actually had a pretty good pull for mine. It is in the support tab right there with Discovery. You see I've got a tier 1 and a cooldown already. And then you have a stockpile of your Urbanite you can collect every day. I do like the size of the stockpile. It's 30,000, which for a tier 1 Cerritos is enough for 10 support launches. It seems like a low number. Keep in mind that as you level up your Cerritos, you will get more there. And I think the more is better. I think that's where some of the value comes in. And even though this is a pretty long-winded video, it does cover a lot of information on events on the Cerritos. I want you to join my Discord if you have any questions. And I want to know what you think about the support class, the Bard class being introduced to the game, and also how you think it will affect you. I think that it can be very effective in territory capture and armadas particularly. And just to remind everybody, they are running new updates to the Unity platform. That is the engine the game runs on, to hopefully give more stability. That's one of their goals with territory captures. A lot of these updates they're doing, they're updating tools, they're updating the actual engine of the game to hopefully finally fix a lot of the problems that many of you have experienced. It's not a guarantee. I'm not telling you to hold your breath and be all excited, just that they are working on that. And that I think that Cerritos can have big value. So I can go buff a guy like Buck if he wants to be in his Valdor or Katinga or whatever. Or if I want to go, buff Behringer in his, I don't know, whatever he's flying now, Corvus, Rare, Sanctus. I don't know, whatever high-level players are flying these days. Something that I'm not in. But this allows me to actually contribute to a fight that normally I would not be able to. Feedback definitely welcome. If you have any questions about how some of this works, because it can be semi-confusing, drop them in the comment section below. In fact, the comment bar looks like this. It literally just put it in a box, hit send, and we'll answer it. And I'm trying to think of anything else about the Cerritos that I'm missing. I can't think of anything. Like I said, the level of Cerritos determines the duration of the effect. The tier of the Cerritos determines the cost it is for you to run the effect. The research of the player you're buffing determines how much support they get. And yeah, that's the Cerritos. You can get it today, or you can free to play grind it starting in May. I love that we have a seeable path, and we're going to be able to see everything that goes on in terms of this ship. I mean, it's going to be immediately available in a free to play grind way that we can see, and I love. The only one big complaint I can have is why the heck is the Cerritos SLB every player? Real quick gripe. If you're watching this years into the future, it won't matter to you, but why am I going against, for example, Theory, who is in my alliance, who's level 59, and Trader, who is a good friend, she's level 56. Why am I going against these people in an SLB? But anyway, that's the video. If you got any questions, we'll see you. Deuces, that's me. Live long and prosper. Stay safe with their Space Cowboys. We'll catch you on the next one. And yeah, I'm outie.
An even better outro than the intro. For the Empire and glory to your house.